The reason as to why we make the promises to ourselves is because we have gotten to the breaking point. The year has ended and things have not been good. Now you've gotten to the breaking point. But the thing about God, one thing that I'm so thankful about is the way God created us. Even when we get to breaking points, we don't break, we just bend. Right? So that means we have endless chances of redeeming ourselves. And that is an opportunity that I promised last month and I didn't do it. But now it can be a brand new beginning for me to actually focus on what I have said I am going to focus. But the thing is, some of us are going to wait until 5 years from now. We look back and we didn't do what we promised. We did not focus. And our life, like, it has been dispersed in 100 different directions. Because if you don't have focus, you are spreading. You're spreading yourself so thin. And if you don't have focus, right? If you don't have focus, you're the one who is seeing, who is running very fast, who is running slow, who is making it. You're like a commentator. You know a commentator of football? Commentators, they have the strongest of terms. They know what everyone in the field must do. I wish he did this. They're not going to do anything. They're going to dodge the ball. But the thing is, I want you to name one thing in this world that you can do and accomplish without focus. Just name one thing. I need to know it. That you can accomplish without focus. Even bringing up your children takes focus. That sometimes, and you remind yourself and you're like, hey, I'm a mother. And you're like, hey, this homework has to be done. And you're like, hey, the shoes for school have to be bought. Some people buy after they have been torn. It's not the issue of money. It's not the issue of, but lack of. Like there's so many things that are happening. A storm, a hurricane, has happened. And you keep saying, you know what, we will talk about it. We will talk about it and we will talk about it. Until there is a sense of focus. And you're like, you know what? Chegwakati. I'm not going to let it out of my sight. I am going to. Why do you think people hand in work late beyond deadlines? Lack of? So you realize that lack of focus affects us in so many areas, okay? And there's a time I've done football coaching, mindset coaching, not football, but football mindset coaching for footballers or soccer players for different teams here in Uganda. But I remember there's an attachment I developed with Villa specific, because for them I coached them for a very long time. Unless the Vipers and then the Express and all that, but with Villa I took a longer time because I used to go to their camps frequently to be able, and it made a huge difference even in their performance. Now, and we used to talk about a lot of mindset change and focus and stuff like that, but there is this one time, I think it was in that should have been Betway Stadium, that is Arua, okay? And you know how people will play so well. By the time I drive with my husband and we go to Arua to watch a Villa game, like seriously speaking, we are invested. By that time, we are really heavily invested. And the game goes on so well. The first half, we are topping the charts, as in we are in the lead. And then 15 minutes into second half, the Kavuyo starts happening. Now, the last 15 minutes of that game, and I would say even 10 minutes of that game, everything turned upside down. I know that it does for so many games, you realize. But again, for me, because I was an insider, because I knew the players by names, I knew who the midfielder was, I knew who the winger was, I knew their capabilities, and I would see their mistakes. I would see that the mistakes that they were doing were out of lack of focus. Because the last 10 minutes, where we could have kept our game going, where we could have kept on in the lead, this is what happened. We still had it was still the same coach. There were still the same players. It was still the same field, as in nothing else had changed. The only thing that had changed is the players lost focus. And when players, have you seen how, when players lose focus? My goodness, they will behave like children. And you'll be like, yeah, like, we know you better. We know you can do better. Why are you doing this? And all of a sudden, and it takes one bad move to disorganize, for everyone to lose the focus. There is this person that you trust so much, and they make a move that is so bad, and everyone else is thinking, by the time he has done that, we are done. And by the time you convince your mind we are done, indeed you are done. And it hurt me so much. It really hurt me. Because let me tell you, when you're invested, you can even pray for a football team. You can pray for them while they're in the pitch playing. For you, you're busy praying. You know, I just wish this, you get used to the outcome of Basovolo Tukuba. You never get used to that. Now, how many of us in this journey of life have lost it right close to the end, right close to where the breakthrough was about to come, right close to where your business was about to go to the next level, right where your relationship was going to the next level, and all of a sudden, things happened because life be lifing, and you lose focus. And when you lose focus, your mind, when a mind loses focus, it takes a very long time. It takes a very long time for you to tune yourself. And you're like, have you ever, for some of you have never been in the weight loss game. I have been in the weight loss game for a very long time. The moment you master your energy and you're like, you know what, I am just going to do it. It takes long to get the momentum, to laser focus. But when you focus, you don't want any distractions. At some point when I was still definitely at a bigger risk of, you know, of weight, I would even deliberately refuse to go to parties. I'll be like, you know what? No. I don't think I'm going to behave. When I see cake, when I see chocolate, no, I don't think I'm going to behave. And I'll be like, you know what? I want to focus on this. For the next 3 months, I want to see what difference this can actually make. And there is 3 months where I lost 15 kilos. But why was that happening? I was very laser focused that even the weekends where someone would say, but these are my cheat days. Hey, I didn't have cheat days. I'll be like, you know what? I'm not giving myself the luxury. The moment you take off the weekend to give yourself 2 cheat days, you come back on Monday hungrier. And hungrier for sugar, for the things that you shouldn't eat. So I was like, you know what? I would rather go through the pain at once than zigzagging through the pain and the cheat days. I don't want to do that. So that means I decided to actually focus, okay? And I want us very quickly to just go. I know there is a lot that, remember, for those of you that are just joining us, we said this is a starter into the main course, okay? A starter into the main course. We are having a chat because when it comes to personal branding, when it comes to communication, when it comes to you developing yourself and the growth of your business, there is no way you're going to hit any of your goals without a sense of focus. There is no way. You have to be focused to the task ahead and the things that you really want to happen. So for those of you that have just come in, we started and said that focus is selective attention. That you've got to be more selective about what you give attention. You have to be very selective. Your head cannot be everywhere, and especially in this distracted world. Especially in this world where we are fighting with stress, we are fighting with depression, we are fighting with jobs, we are fighting with, like we are literally fighting. There are so many things that come at us on a daily, okay? And things that we don't sit there and choose for them to come at us. There are people who hate you for no good reason. There is your family where there is politics. Things are just not happening. There is, there are so many things that are happening. So that means you must be able to be very selective about what you give your attention to, because where your attention goes, your energy goes. Where your attention goes, your money goes. Where your attention goes, the whole of you is held at ransom about that place. So I need you to focus, because your focus, by the way, it affects your attitude. Do you know that? It affects your attitude. It affects how you show up in business. It affects how you show up for your family. It affects your attitude about everything. And attitude, it makes or breaks you. When you have a bad attitude about, even if it's your business, You will lose focus, momentum, all of a sudden. Even the people that you had booked or that you had promised to deliver or something like that, you know that you can get discouraged and you're like, naye mfachi. I think it's better even give them a refund. Where you should have gone, because the right mind or the positive mindset says, go an extra mile. The positive attitude says, invest. You get it? Oyinza okuba tofunamu kinene nnyo naye sawa ya kuteekamu so that mu maaso wali okibalira mu maaso wali. Now that is a positive mindset, and it takes focus. That, you know what, I have calculated. How many of us have ever calculated without a sense of focus? When you calculate toyagala na yogera, maybe some of you don't have businesses where you need to calculate. You're like, and especially when you're reconciling or you're taking inventory or something like that. So that means you need to be focused. So choose where your focus is. That means when you choose where your focus is going, that means you are denying certain things focus. And sometimes the things that we deny focus scream more than the ones that we are giving focus. They are louder than the ones that where we are giving the focus, where we want to give the focus. You're like, you know what? If it's about a relationship and it's just not working, and I am single-handedly in this relationship and I cannot change the other person, and yet with a business, I can change the outcomes of a business. Like, it is in my power. Why don't I focus my energy where I can have an outcome? And then all of a sudden you're like, gwogenda kufuka background noise. Ojiro obeerako ku bbali. Bw'oneetereza, tujja kutereera. You know, there are times where you know, you are the one, gwabadde akyagala, gwabadde akisindika, gwabadde ng'olaba omulala takiriiko. And then you're like, naye nfaaki, because I'm dividing attention. Njagala kanika eno, ate love tebagikanika. Wanji, omutima tebagukola ki? Tebagukanika. So wakiri, kankanike sente ezikanikika. You realize? So now you're denying a certain part attention, and it's screaming louder, but tondabao, but, you know, saying all those things, and you're like, you know what? Let me work. I am better at any moment with money. We are better with relationships, but relationships that are working, and relationships where there is equal investment. But if it's a relationship, you are investing and the other person is just withdrawing, that is a loss. Relationships are also businesses. It has to be equal investment. Otherwise, if you invest and the other one is making withdrawals, then you remain with nothing. Okay? So I need you to know that focus affects your attitude. You can't handle storms like normal things. And sometimes the focus that we need to make is in the middle of a storm. Have you ever been in the middle of a storm or in the middle of a crucial decision? And that is where you need to make a decision to focus on certain things. An example, when we were in the midst of the pandemic, how many people made decisions to start working from home, to start businesses because they were laid off from work? You realize, and in those moments, there are some men that told me, you know what? Nagambye muchala wange. Oba nsula nkola. Oba nsula, there is one who started a chapati business, and they would deliver kukagali. And by the way, this person was a corporate person. Bamugobye ku mulimu, amakage gali n'okulya, abantu bebazze, n'abavudde mu kyalo nabo bavuddeyo sebo bwe bawulidde pandemic. They came from the village to come to town. Remember, in town you have to buy everything. So the man was like, wano, ebiti wambisa ku bbali, I start doing chapatis. And he made very good chapatis. The guy told me he would sleep at 4 a.m. and wake up at 5:30. Like, he would sleep for 1 hour and a half, because at 5:30 he has to be able to go out, because abasirikale b'okumasha be bamukirizanga to move around and go and supply. So he would have to go out. And he was like, you know what? I explained to my wife, and I was like, now, all our lives are encompassed into how much money we can make so that we can feed this family. That is all we are thinking about right now. So you realize that how you decide to focus in a storm is not how you decide in normal days. In normal days, you can take your time. Oh, I will do this, and then you don't do it. While you are in a storm and your life counts on it, it's a matter of death or life, you need to go to another level of focus. When People come to me, marriages or couples, 911, they're at their wits' end. They want to call it quits. The focus that they need then is much more than they needed when things were fine. When things are fine, agamba ojja kuba bulungi akonako kabadde okajja kuggwa oli akuweereza ne ka flying kiss n'otereera. Wanji? But when things are hard, that is when you need to hold each other's hand, look yourselves in the face, and be able to reassure each other again that we are going to stay. This storm is not going to take us. It is not going to kill us. It is not going to claim us. Okay? So, I need you to be more selective, but let's talk about the 3 things that it takes for you to be able to actually focus. And I will get these 3 things from the story. Do you remember the story of Peter and Jesus? I usually like telling Bible stories because that is the book that I read the most. The story of Jesus and Peter, how he saw Jesus move on water, and all of a sudden he was like, you know what, call me so that I can also come and walk on water. And we know what happened, that when he went on the water and the wind started blowing, and he saw the storms, things were beating against the boat, he lost his. That is all he lost. He lost his focus and he started to sink. And he made a prayer. It was like, you know what, save me. You know, there is no way, I don't want to sink. But the thing is, he took off his eyes from the one that called him. Because the one that called him had the power. He saw him walk on water. So they were walking, the 2 of them. So what changed? It was the same water. It was the same surrounding. Everything else was the same. But it says that he lost focus, that he looked at the wrong things. He looked at the wind. That is what the Bible says, that he looked at the wind. He looked at the storm. And I think when you look at the storm, how many of us have looked at threatening situations? What crosses our minds? Fear. You're afraid all of a sudden. You're panicking. All of a sudden you're like, ha! What if I lose this? What if I lose this? Like, we are even afraid of losing the small that we can. You remember how people were holding on to food during the pandemic? Even tissue. People were holding on to tissue. You know, everything. Because then you're like, what if I don't get it tomorrow? What if tomorrow? What if? So out of fear of the surrounding of the wind and the storm, he lost his focus and everything deviated. And so one of the things that I talked about was identification. There is no way you are going to solve your lack of focus without identification. And identification is to know that it is the wind that has taken my attention. To know that when it comes to social media has taken my attention, not in a good way, but in a bad way. Because when your social media takes your attention in a good way, that is paying. There is money to it. Okay? But there is you scrolling, akagalo ne kalemerayo, akagalo kalikati. You're scrolling, bwoseka weka, bwokazako, bwowulira omuntu ayingira mu office n'ojjako volume, n'osaanikira essimu n'ogitunuza wansi, toyagala ko badola bakakugendeko, bameka abali guilty. I know so many of us are guilty. And then after that, in your heart, you're asking, wagenda di, yeyogeza ate bananga omuntu wajjanga ngaze kweyogerezako emusaawe eyo, ng'olaba ebintu ebitakwatagana. Baba banyumya ebibozo ebitagatta. You know, ate babi extending. Olabeko omuntu anyumya emboozi etagatta naye nga gi-extendinga. Nga beetereza bulungi nnyo ne mu katebe. And you're like, and then you know, I was still on a call, but you were not on a call. And then all of a sudden, no kalaba, you follow the link, and then you follow someone who liked it, and then you go to the Comments Readers Association, and then and you share, and as in there is a lot of things, you know, binyuma in that moment, only to see that you have burnt 3 hours of your time. So when you decide and say, there's actually a certain gentleman, I think, who mentioned, I was like, you know what? We used to have battles in my home because every time my wife was cooking, she was on social media, Facebook. She would be scrolling and here she's mixing. She's scrolling and then she forgets to mix and the food is burning. So nearly every day there was burnt food in the house. Until I was like, no, we're not going to behave like this. And then the other one was telling me about the wife who would be on phone, on Lugambo. with whoever cares to hear, whether it's a friend, whether it's an auntie, whether it's someone, but they will always be on phone, on Lugambo, talking about some other people. You know, and maybe she would not even give time to her husband. So you realize that until you realize that there is time that is trickling through my hands and I'm not able to get a hold of it, then I should be able to be very attentive to understand. Do you know that there are people who are time wasters? Last week, for those of you that were here, we talked about stallers. People who stall, they know they are supposed to do something, they don't do it. Have you ever been in a group where you're supposed to write a report and you're the only one who is minded about that report and everyone else is not minded about the report? And they're stalling. Every time you ask them, they will tell you, I have it on my laptop. I wrote half of it. They are giving you fake updates. Like they have zero, nothing. They have not done anything. And then that day comes and they're like, my laptop no ya crashing. Kakati gwawada wimaliriza later to bitunulemu. Ngomanya chikulide. Report yo yekoze yegenze. And you know that when you're punctual, all the months you're the one that is going to give in the report because you're the one who is the one that loves working. Gundi yayagala okola, gundi yabikola punctually. So, identify. Identify. And sometimes whatever is stealing your time can even be your spouse. Yeah. Sometimes it can be your pastor. Or a clergy or someone in leadership somewhere. For a certain reason, they find it comfortable to talk to you and to tell you about everything that is happening in their lives. And that is not bad, but it does not build you and it does not have returns on investment. So it's just wasting time. But because sometimes we are people pleasers, we do not want to cut the ties and we do not want to call a spade a spade. Number 2, insulation. Because I realized, at first I thought, I was like, you know what? Maybe we should be able to eliminate and take away everything that is taking away our time. And then I realized we can't take away everything that is taking away our focus, that is making us lose focus. Can you do away with your spouse? No. Can you do away with your children? No. Do you know that your children can be time wasters? Have you ever had children who call mommy, mommy, mommy 1,000 times? And you feel like, oh, mutwegwe tolola. You feel like, you know, oh, wakati mugambe chi, byo mugamba byonna tabitegeera, and you're like, you know what, let me just keep quiet. You even sweat, nga it is cold. Children. Today Ariel was telling, Mommy, I want you to carry me. And I'm like, look how old you are. And you want me to carry me. And I'm like, you know what? When I was even putting on white. I had to change. I was in crystal white in the morning when I was dropping them to school. And then all of a sudden, shoes happened. But the thing is, we cannot do away with everything that takes our attention or that takes our focus. So that means we can create insulation. We can be able to cover ourselves from certain things. Not completely eliminate them, but be able to put some boundaries of some sorts. To say, you know what, hold your thought. Let me come back to you in an hour's time. I was figuring out this thing. You realize you've told them to hold their thought. They are not annoyed. For them, nga yewe omugambidde erinda ko nja koma ne bw'okoma after 5 hours n'omugamba how adongamba kiye nga aseetula buto. So you insulate yourself. Insulate yourself against that your friend. And there are people who have told me, I have a friend, some lady told me, I have a friend who is abroad. She calls me and she wants us to talk for 4 hours. For 4 hours. And Bambi, if you're a people pleaser, I don't know, some of you have never been people pleasers, this woman would speak for 4 hours every day. They would discuss. They would even leave the phones there. Someone would say, I'm going to the bathroom. I was like, you go, just come on, sangewo. And like, seriously, that she will go on. And I was like, Manange, I'm really tired. Like, I can't do anything because the moment I start doing anything, she realizes that my attention is not with her. Because your mind cannot be in two places at the same time. And God gave you one brain. And he had a reason as to why he gave us one and two eyes. And again, two eyes that cannot look in different directions. Can your eyes look in different directions? Wanji? Can your mouth chew one thing and chew another this side? That here you're taking in carbon dioxide or here you're taking in oxygen. It cannot happen. As in, that means he knew that sometimes we just need to laser focus on certain things in order to accomplish them, in order to be fruitful, to multiply, in order to make the money, okay? So, insulate. Sometimes you can't eliminate, but you can insulate, you can limit how long you talk to people. You can disengage, okay? And it's okay. Sometimes, some friendships, by the way, you can properly neglect it, knowing that you want to be able to put it in a certain level of priorities, but it's not supposed to take the first place. Because there are people, there are friends who will want to be closer than your spouse. Bonga benyigawo. So it's you to dictate agament your mind, take a step back. So you have to reposition relationships. Reposition siblings. Reposition your bosses. Sometimes your bosses think that by the virtue of the fact that they are paying you, they own your life. And so you're like, I hate to burst your bubble, but you do not own all my life. If I'm a married person, I will not pick the calls past this time. And if we have a working agreement, knowing that our job really demands that I pick the phone at that time, then that better be stipulated while we are getting into this relationship or into this partnership. Okay? So, make sure that the insulation. Number 3 that I put down was intercession. And that is prayer. Remember I told you I believe in the power of prayer. One thing that they tell us in that very verse, that before even everything happened, Jesus was from praying. Okay? So that means for him, Jesus he was getting his power from somewhere, from God. But Peter, n'emigatije, n'ebyennyanja bye, n'omukuto gwe, he wants to do what Jesus is doing without the power that Jesus had. It's like you being a prayerful person, you being a giver into charity, and God blessing you, because I told you that if you don't follow principles break you. So if the principle of giving, whether you're unorthodox, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Pentecostal, whether you're an Anglican, whether you're a Catholic, the principle of giving is that when you give, God gives you. It is a principle. It is not a religion. When you pray to God and evoke the higher power, the reason as to why we pray is to tell God that for me, I am powerless on my own. But when I have your power, that means I can do better. That is why we pray for our businesses. So we want to do, there are certain people, and I said it here, that let's not be copycats, that we want to copy how someone performs, and yet we don't know where they are getting their power. In this city, people are getting their powers from different places. There are those that are Bali Monsasi, and there are those that are on their knees, praying. So, overi ng'osalimba ogamba no business maze okuchikuba naye nga bali bazuukuse 10 za kiro kola ki kunyeenya nsasi na kuyisa buti mu mannyo. And then for you wake up at 7 a.m. ngoyayuya, and then you come with your bad attitude. We customer alinda ko nja kusavinga nkakanso kenetereze, and all of a sudden you're like neka kati lwachi bali bakulakulana bayina gye bajja ki kubanga ne stand naye ali real. Kati n'abasaba wano sawa 9 nga bazuukuka, sawa 10 nga bazuukuka, nga basaba Katonda. Sometimes bali mu meditation, sometimes they are reading a book, sometimes they as in they are planning for their day ahead of time. Who is going to win? The one that strategizes. They're like, this is how I'm going to approach my day. This is how. And let me tell you, there is a special power about the morning. When you strategize in the morning, I'm not a morning person, but I know that there is power in the morning hours. The times I'm able to do it, I am laser focused. The times I just land into my day, like to whoever it may concern, hey, I'm like, you know what? This is not a good day for me. So you realize that prayer, you cannot detach any kind of results, whether you want a good marriage, to bring up good children, to have a good business, to even have favor. Guys, do you know that we need favor? Waliwo omuntu akutunulako n'akuma business nga toyina kye wali omukoze nga toyina naye ng'omulabikidde bubi. Like seriously, you just walk into an office na labano to skirt. Labano as in ye mu mutwe gwe ye ku categorize nze daya sazewo na that business tagenda kola ki tagenda jikuwa nga tona bana kwogera oyinza okuba nga ofuwa oluzungu luwongo owandise proposal yo nga nnungi as in nga buli kimu kiri tick 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 naye nga ye yasazeewo, I'm not going to work with you, I'm not going to give you business. Someone, let me tell you, sometimes it's not even seeing you. Someone sees you on social media. And for some reason, nga business yo eringa esanikiddwako, it's like it has a cloud over it. When someone sees you, it's like they don't understand what you're talking about. They don't understand what you're posting. They don't understand. Sometimes they will be like, this is also too much on my timeline. Before you know it, they are limiting it. They are like, Facebook asks you, do you want to see more of this? And then you say, no. Someone has blocked your business. They are not going to see it for the next 18 years. But remember, you are praying to God. Maybe you're not even praying. But for those that are praying, God gives you a certain special favor that someone sees a post and they're like, you know what, I'm interested in working with her. They just see a post to go into you. You get it? And they're like, you know what, let me screenshot her number. Let me screenshot her hairstyle. Let me screenshot, there is a special favor on you. You have seen people who have special favor. You have liked them on social media before you even meet them. You have taken screenshots of their merchandise and you're like, lumu nange ngenda gula. Sometimes abantu bewoze n'okwewola to buy. If that is not favor, what is that? But where does favor come from? It comes from a human being, God. God alone can give you favor. So that's the other thing that you need to be able to do. That behind you, there should be a power that drives you. Whether you're a public speaker, let me tell you, I pray every time I go to an audience. Every time. Before I came here, I prayed. For me, I do not take it lightly that you guys can take 4 hours of your time or 3 hours of your time and come here. Don't you have things to do? You do. But while we are here, my prayer is that there will be a change, a wave, something that becomes better in our lives. And I know that that is not going to just go away, just like that, okay? So when it comes to, one thing is the world is strategizing. The people that are coming up with these apps are strategizing. The ones on TikTok are like, how do we get more attention? Everyone, do you realize that attention is an expensive commodity? I don't know whether you have realized it. Attention is an expensive commodity. Do you know why we are on Facebook and Twitter, and X, Twitter, and Threads? Do you know why we are on those platforms for free? Haven't you? You've never sat down to ask yourself? As in, we should have paid, clearly, to be on those platforms. But we are not paying to be on those platforms. Do you know why? Because we are the commodity. We are the products. You're not getting it? We are the products. When we are on those platforms, what they do is they collect our data and they sell it to the highest bidders. So the highest bidders are busy giving us adverts. So now what they are saying is we want more eyeballs. We want people to see this. So that means more people, we should promote more. We should make it easy. That is why every time there is create another page, create this and this. Why? They are making it simple for you to log on, to be able, that is why they want you to redeem your passwords. They care about you, by the way. You are their product. You are the one. You guys are not getting it. Facebook is selling you to advertisers. Advertisers are paying Facebook so that you can be on Facebook. So every platform, we are the merchandise. They go and they're like, I have so and so. So now we are statistics somewhere. We are being counted as being on a certain platform, and that platform is getting a zillion of dollars just to make sure that we are on that platform. So that means the world a even the enemy a Have you ever seen people when they are single and they're praying to get into a marriage, and how the bichupuli come in very quickly? As in, before you even get to settle in a good, there is always someone who will come. You know? Why? Because the enemy is planning. The enemy knows, let me tell you, the enemy knows that once you are focused, you will be untouchable. Once you are focused, you will be unstoppable. For some of us, the people in our lives know that once she is focused, once she has placed her mind on a goal, she has to hit it. And sometimes they will bring all the kwara. They will do everything, katemba, craziness, everything. And they're like, you know what, including stealing from you, including blackmailing you, including as in just to make sure. Have you seen people who start crying? Someone is like, you know what, we want to delay her. Because if the enemy wants to delay you, he's going to bring everything that is going to take away the attention from the main goal that you actually had. So I need you to know that it is a fight. Number one, it is a battle. For you to be able to focus on anything and be able to do it is a battle. So you decide whether you're on the winning side or you decide whether you are on the mediocre side that is going to regret after 5 years, and you're like, I wish I gave my business time. I wish I gave my job time. I wish I gave my marriage time. I wish I gave my relationship. Whatever it is that you need to give, I wish I gave myself some time. The me time. But you become so exhausted while you're doing everything else, and actually nothing is happening. So your talent is at the mercy of your focus. Your talent is at the mercy of your... The reason as to why excellent people in everything, whether they are football players, whether they are guitar players, whether they are singers, do you know the amount of time those people take rehearsing? Do you know the amount of time those people take in the field, in the field, doing practices and all that? So your talent alone cannot make you win. Your talent is nothing. There are so many talented people in the world. The difference between people who make it and those who don't make it is the sense of focus that they have on that particular talent that they want to grow. And I want to be able to focus on football. I want to be able to focus on the guitar. I want to be able to focus, and that is where excellence comes. Excellence can never come without a sense of focus. So your talent is, and for some of you that are God's servant, your anointing is at the mercy of your focus. Your anointing, your service is at the mercy of your focus. If you can't focus, then what is God going to do? That, oh, God used me to do what? If you want God to use you amongst people, then give those people more time, focus on them, understand their problems, and pray over them. That is how it works. So your anointing is at the mercy of your focus, okay? And unbreakable life, for those of you that are writing, an unbreakable life requires unbreakable focus. And then some of us, and this is the last thing I will say, we have to manage our exposure. We have to manage our exposure. When we are exposed to other people that are doing well, that is one way of being inspired to know that those people exist, they are doing well, so we can actually do well. When you see someone building a very good house, when you see someone building a very big, giant business, your reaction shouldn't be envy or jealous, because jealous is mismanaging exposure. The moment you become jealous of something, you are mismanaging your exposure. You were exposed to that thing so that you can see that it is possible. You were exposed to a good marriage so that you can know that, by the way, it's possible that there are 1 or 2 or 5 marriages out of 10 that are good, but they exist nonetheless. Okay? So whatever you are exposed to that is big, that is good, should not be a point of you being jealous. It's a point of you admiring and being inspired and knowing that if that person can achieve it, they do not have blue blood. They have red blood, I have red blood. They are a human being, I am a human being. So if they can achieve it, I can actually achieve it. But the reason as to why we have these people that we call tycoons, you can see that they have hit one thing again and again. They have decided to build one thing and they are known for that one thing. And that is what you know about them. What else do you know about Steve Jobs? Even when he died in 2011. People who are focused live a legacy. Their legacy never dies. So the more you focus while you are alive, when it comes to your destiny, when it comes to your legacy, you are still looked at as someone who is alive in that particular field and that particular industry. Miles Monroe, when you look at his videos, do you believe he's dead? No. He sounds like he's not dead. But he focused on that industry. He said the words that he said, that when he says them, it's like he's saying them now. They apply now. They are so true now. It's like he shape-shifted into the future and spoke what is applicable right now. Why did he do that? Or what made that possible? He focused on what he was doing, and he did not spread himself so thin to say, you know what, katirero nze kola chino, katirero nze kola chiri, and to do a million things. He did one thing, and one thing so great, that he spoke into people's lives, and he recorded videos while he was speaking into people's lives. And those videos are going to live for the next 100 years. There are people who are talented right now to speak, but they can never speak at his magnitude. There is a level of focus that he had, okay? So don't be jealous. Make sure that you manage your exposure. Make sure that you know. And there are certain things you're just going to say, you know what, I am out. This one, I don't want, because see, clicks, things that are not adding up, and you're like, you know what? No. I am limiting myself. I am not doing this. I am not going to go here. I am not going to say this. I am not going to, because it is going to hinder my focus. So I need your decision making to also have a backbone. That when you say no, mean your no. When you say yes, make sure that you actually mean your yes. So, and some of the things that we are going to do, it is going to require that we understand the seasons, that I have been called, so it is my time to step in the water. Otherwise, abamo kufe, waliwe bintu byetwe tumikirizako. You jump into the water, no one has called you, no power at all, and you sink immediately. So some of us, we need people to be able to speak into our lives. That is why we have consultation. That is why we have mentoring. That is why we have coaches. That is why we have people that have gone ahead in business for us, who can tell us that, you know what, if you want to start that business in this season, Linda Co. Start that business mid-year, or start that business at the end of the year, or plan for this length of time before starting that business. Why? Because they have gone ahead of you, so they know the framework. They know what works and what doesn't work. So I need you to know that in this journey of focusing and making returns and making money, it's not a journey that you're going to go alone at, and it's not a journey where you just jump and say, you know what, let me close my eyes and choose. No, it is not Kalulu. It is a well-calculated journey that if I am going to focus here, I am going to focus here. And if here fails, I will ask myself, what are the lessons that I am picking before I even go to the next endeavor? What are the lessons that I am picking? What did I do wrong? Did I start in the wrong seasons? Did I go into the wrong business? Did I get wrong advice? What happened? Because what we do is we repeat the same mistakes when we transfer or when we go to the next phase of our lives without understanding what transpired in the last phase of our lives. So this is a starter. This is just to get you ready, to let you know that focus is everything. Focus is power. Focus is power. Otherwise, the TVs will give you their adverts. All they need is your attention. The Thailands will make their soaps, right? They want your attention. Venezuela will make their soaps. They want your attention. Bashita chinyanya? Chinyanya nyanya. Aha. They will make their mixtapes. All they want is your attention, as in everyone is calling your attention. Ewamwe kuchalo mwina megaphones kochi ku bibanda oba ku mukatale, as in every ku stage buli omu ayagala attention. Bwaba yigira ayita bweyogere chireka banda, that is enough to disrupt your thinking. As in, we walk in a world where it's full of disruptions, left, right, and center. You don't call for it, but what it takes for you to steal your mind is you deciding that, you know what, I want to still my mind. I want to sit in the quietness. I want to be able to talk, to think about my life. I want to be able to envision, to visualize 10 years of my life coming. Where do I want to be? Can that picture pull me? Can that picture cause me to focus that, you know what, this is what I want, and if it is not that, I am not going to do anything. For example, this year, I have an aim. There is an apartment that I want to finish. But I had to turn down an offer. Can you imagine? An offer of a Wrangler. You know a Wrangler. 2 weeks ago or this week, I should have had a Wrangler imported. And I said, you know what? No, not at this time. No Wrangler now until that apartment is finished. And I know that it is huge. And I know that it's going to take a lot of attention and a lot of energy and a lot of money. So that gets finished before I can get anything else. But that takes a lot of focus for you to say, a woman of this age and era, to turn down something like that, for you to be able to focus on something that you really want. So let us know the cost of what we want. And if the cost is focus, let us pay the price of focus. Because it feels like you're losing out on so many other things. Abaita, abeyagala, abasula mu klabu, abakolachi, but gomanyi chikolachi, chicho yagala. And you're like, I must be able to hit it at this edge. And sometimes I might not hit it at that edge, but I must actually get to it. So don't get distracted. Stay on course, pay the cost, pay the price, and I will tell you for sure it's going to be worthwhile. It is going to be so worthwhile. After that business has grown, some of you are going to be mentors here. People are going to come to you to ask you, wachikolotia. They are going to come to ask you, empire yo wajizimba. How did you build your empire? I have seen you for a very long time. Oli muchala mwegendereza. Ebibuzo byebabuza abantu abatuseyo. You think we are butanwa? No. It's because we have seen these people pay the price. So we have seen these people consistent, showing up every day. Whether it rains, whether it's sunny, whether we have seen them show up. And we know that sometimes we don't have that power to do it, to stay. But I'm telling you today, the power, no one has that power. We all choose that power. We all choose to focus. No one was created with a sense of focus. We all choose to focus. So I need us to choose and focus and make sure that we accomplish the goals that we must be able to accomplish. Everything that we need to be able to clarify, and we are going to work together. It is going to be interactive. So as I mentioned, whatever I mentioned, we mention everything together. So for some of us have known for a very long time that a brand, and I think I shared with a group of us, there's one of the, can you, I don't know what number that was. I think someone has reordered them, but you look at them, that I made a mention and said that a brand is reach and reputation. A brand is reach and reputation. There is nothing short of that. Reach and reputation. Now, in between reach and reputation is reach as in how far, you know, R-E-A. No, not R-I-C. Reach as in how far you get. Because we are not building brands to hide them under the bed. We are not building brands for just Uganda. We are building global brands, reach and reputation. You have a table right there on that paper that actually brings that to mind. Let's go through that very quickly before we even go to any other, because I believe that it's going to be very, very helpful to set the pace of what we are talking about. Okay, so when I mention reach, that is how far, how wide you can be able to get. Because remember, we're also not, it's a global village we are in. Even when you're creating products, you're not creating products for just here. Even when you're creating merchandise, you're not just creating merchandise for here. Even when you're promoting, you're not promoting just here. What you want is to be able to influence. Uganda is too small right now to be able to give you the kind of money that you need. The people that are going to hire you, the people that are going to pay you, the people that are going to buy your merchandise, some of them are not in Uganda. But they will buy your merchandise anyway. But how do they know you? That means you have to be very intentional about your reach. You have to be very intentional about how far. You might start small, but know that you are building something bigger, and you're building something bigger, and you're building something bigger. You're not building something that is going to remain small forever. We are no longer building corner shops. You remember those corner shops that we used to have on our villages? Right now, when you look at a corner shop, what do you feel? You feel like the only thing you can do is an emergency when you lack sugar, and that is when you go. Well, as in it's an emergency. So, because you go through supermarkets and do all your shopping, you realize, so most of the grocery, the corner shops have become grocery supermarkets, like mini supermarkets. And the mini supermarkets have gone into bigger supermarkets. That means everyone is scrambling for reach. I told you about social media. I told you about Facebook. The reason as to why they are advertising themselves to us is because they want reach, because they are brands. Think about any brand in this world. What they want is reach. Otherwise, when you look at your iPhone was created for particular people in the US. Particular people, a particular class of people. But they just knew it that we would never get our returns if we are able to sell to these particular people. Yes, they are wealthy, yes, they can afford, but we need to be able to make it a global brand so that even in Africa, you get it. But they didn't create it with Africa in mind. They created it for very particular people, even in the US, not for the general public. So you realize that everyone is going for the reach. So let's talk about the reach, because you have it have you seen the table? On the reach, on those black papers? Yes, you have seen it. So on the side of the reach, I said paid ads, okay? And I started in the deep end. Some of us don't know what paid ads are, but there are people who are paying for ads. You've paid a sponsor. How many of us have sponsored ads on social media? How many of us? Yes, we've sponsored. Yes, you've sponsored. So you see that it is giving you reach. That beyond. And right now, ever since the pandemic, that it is not giving you as much reach. But for some of us that started advertising way earlier, my goodness, like you would be everywhere. Everywhere. In Africa, even if you limited it to Uganda, they will take you to Morocco, to Zambia. You will be communicating with people everywhere. Why? Because they were taking you everywhere. So you realize that if you are doing a business and you want the reach to widen, there has to be a payment factor. Okay? Yes, we can do without payment, but if we want extra mile, we do payment. Number 2, organic sales. As in, you're selling your product. You're telling people about your product. That means you do not just stop at being in your home, staying in your home, staying in your office and hoping people will come. They are not going to come. So you go to them. You network. You actually do your content. You post on social media. You speak about your product. You've seen people that are doing these things. And sometimes you feel like, aren't you going too far? Have you seen people advertising clothes these days? And they're getting women with bam bam? And they're doing all sorts of crazy things? But you end up looking at the dress and you're like, oh my God. And then some of them, by the way, are not even in Uganda. Some of them are in Tanzania. There is a way they know how to market themselves, and Kenyans, and they're marketing towards Uganda. Do you know that there are Ugandans who are buying from Kenyan brands and putting them on? And they're leaving Ugandan brands. But why? Those guys have the reach. And whenever they are advertising or whenever they are doing their organic content, as in they will even include Uganda. They will know that we have people in Uganda. They will even include Ugandan prices. So the organic sells, okay? Like you knock on people's doors. You do everything that a salesman must be able to do. The cold calls. There is one thing that has worked for me for so long, and I don't know whether you can try it, but tell me if you are able to try it. When you go to your phone book, all the contacts that you have, do they know your business? Do they know what you do? Some of you work with people who don't know what you do. Some of you have spouses who don't know what you do. Yes. Some of you have children who don't know what you do. Some of you have church members who don't know what you do. You just appear and you're like, Abi, I'm minding my business. Whenever you are building a brand, you are not minding your business. You're minding the people's business. So tell everyone, let everyone know that is around you, whether they beat up, they abuse you for it, whether they rumor monger, whether they gossip, what you want to know is, have they known? Okay? So one of these days, go to all your to all your phone numbers and make sure that you send them a generic message about your business. Yeah, let them know. Make sure that you tailor it well, because we are going to talk about messaging. You cannot be a personal brand or a business brand minus good messaging. Because what attracts us to even read a quarter of what you have written is messaging that touches me, that speaks to me. If it is not relatable, I am not reading your content. I will look at your picture and be like, I never found any video, and then I will go. I will not know the discounts you're giving. I will not know whether there is a crazy November coming. I will not know anything. You get it? But make sure that you do the cold calls. And the cold calls are people that are not warm to your brand. Okay? They are not warm to you as a seller. There are those who are already warm, like they have bought from you, they know your business. So convincing them to buy is not too hard. But there are those you have to tell from scratch that, you know what, this is what I do. Some of us, we have catalogs. We are business people, but we have catalogs that are empty. On WhatsApp. You do not know that even a catalog has a link that you can share.
Some don't even have catalogs. You look at an account, it tells you business.
It's a business account.
No.
Zero. Like, you even disappointed. I've gotten disappointed so many times, even yesterday. A prominent business in town, and I go to their social media, I need something from them. I even have the bother. Some people don't know there are links that you can put on your Instagram that someone can click once and go to your WhatsApp. So seriously, you want us to screenshot the numbers, and then you want us to, now for us who, because my iPhone can copy, you press your finger, you copy, you go and put in, like seriously, you're giving me too much work. And guess what? If I'm a customer and you're giving me too much work, I don't want it. I'm not going to buy it. I'll keep with my money. Make me buying from you easy. Okay? So those are the cold calls. The partners, just like I said, tell people about your business. Where there are like-minded people, other business forums, as in go to them. And when you go to them, don't say, people got tired of hearing people have anger. Why are they there? Tebako wanga. Bakube business maso. Bagambe ntunda chino ate nchitunda bwenti ate chikola bwechiti ate chikola bwechiti. As in, I appreciate someone who is bold. I appreciate someone who saves a lot of time and they go straight to the point and tell us what they do. And I appreciate someone who does a bit of humor while they are doing it.